Yes, we are ready to roll. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of I Can Do This All Day. I'm Dan, the part-time Avenger, and with me is Mark, the resident Jedi.
Hello there. Today we're digging in to the first episode of a Disney Plus show that some people have been waiting a long time for, and some people are trying to figure out why it's being made. And that show is Daredevil.
Don't even know the name of the show that we're reviewing either. So Daredevil Born Again, the continuation of the very, very popular Netflix series Daredevil.
Was it Netflix or the CW?
No, it was CW's DC, dude. What the fuck? Warner Brothers.
Okay, man, I don't know.
Jesus, what's going on?
Hey,
What's going on in this world?
What is going on with characters that have been played by Affleck not getting the play that they deserve? Word, bitch. Phantom's like a motherfucker.
But by the way, I know we talked about this before. Phantom sucked. That movie blew ass.
I don't care about the actual movie. I care about the line that Jay and Affleck
great.
Shared in the movie.
I specifically rented that movie because they said that. And I was thinking that Affleck was going to be the bomb in the movie.
No, he's the reason Phantom's bombed is when he is.
It's just a normal guy in a movie. That's all he is in Phantom. So if you've never watched it or if you don't get the reference, fucking Google it. You know, are you even a part of our tribe if you don't know that reference? But
do you not get us? Yeah. No. Phantoms released. Is it Phantoms or
Phantoms?
Phantoms, where Affleck plays a sheriff, circa 1998. That movie.
The most normal sheriff or cop or whatever he is in that movie. Yeah, so we're doing Daredevil Born Again. This is a kind of a surprise for the MCU because there was a lot of talk like, well, you had the Netflix series. Are they canon to the MCU? Because they did make references to the MCU, such as the Battle of New York, things like that. And then there was talks about bringing them in. Obviously, we saw Charlie Cox in Spider-Man No Way Home, and that was after the announcement of them doing Daredevil again. But this show has gone through a little bit of some production hell. They had some rewrites on some things, and they originally had characters that were not included, such as Foggy Nelson and Karen Page. So they were not originally in this show, but I believe it was I think it was like the second showrunner that was like, no, let's get them in this because we need to get the gang back together. And they did for a little while.
For a minute.
For a very little while.
I was like, oh no, they took out.
Well, so before we get into that, what's your origin with Daredevil, the character, and also the Daredevil Netflix series?
Daredevil, the character, I have very little history with. I've always been kind of confused by the character. Like, I understand his powers, and I understand that he's like kind of Batman-y, but he doesn't leave one borough of New York. Probably, he can't see how vast the cityscape is. So
literally, he can't see how vast the city is.
Affleck was the bomb in Daredevil, and then we got Elektra. I remember those. They were early stage Marvel movies, right? Not great, but not bad at the time. But the character's never really done it for me. Probably because I don't know a lot about the character. Not a comic I was like running to get. Not is a character that's always been kind of an also-ran. So even the Netflix series, I never watched it. Did not give a shit. Almost did a few times. It got a lot of fanfare. People like Kevin Smith were talking about it a lot. Like, oh, it's so great. But I never really got into it. It's never been a character that I'm like, tell me more about the Daredevil.
For me, the character itself, I liked. Probably just because I liked comic book characters and his outfit looked really cool. But I kind of would always make fun of Daredevil. I was doing this well before people were, at least that I was aware of, that people were making fun of Aquaman for being in the Justice League. Like, Aquaman can't leave his little pond. I always thought the same thing for, like, Daredevil. When he was a part of the Avengers for a little while, I pictured all the Avengers hanging out in Avengers headquarters, and they're all trying to come up with lies as to why Daredevil shouldn't go on a mission with them. It's like, oh yeah, we're just gonna go check out a movie, Daredevil. Like, I don't think you'd be interested in this. And then they go fight crime without him. Like they always leave him behind. That's what I always thought about for him because how great can a blind superhero be? And for anyone who's watched The Boys, Homelander, they're having new tryouts for the Seven, which is like their version of the Avengers. And there's this guy that's like really badass doing a workout in front of Homelander, and he's blind. And Homelander was like, "Wow, that's really impressive. Like, how do you do all this stuff if you can't see?" And he talks about his superhero hearing, and then Homelander just thunderclaps the shit out of him in his ears, and is just so funny. Where like he's bleeding from the ears, like, well, he's not being a part of the Seven. So that's what I think of as Daredevil from the comedic aspect. The Daredevil Netflix series was really good. I liked the first season a whole lot. I didn't watch every episode of everything else, but it was really well done. Once again, it's just because I wasn't super sold on the Daredevil character himself that I didn't watch more of it. I watched every episode of Iron Fist, every episode of Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, and then I also watched every episode of The Defenders. So by a whole, for all those Netflix series, they were great. They were very entertaining and just enough comic book type of flair, but it was grounded and realistic. So that's what I liked about those shows. And the fact that they were dropping F-bombs and they were having promiscuous sex with people out there is like, oh, this is something you don't see in comic book movies or comic book shows. So like there you go. You got some adult themes and a more of a gritty type of nature. Almost like how people would say like, oh yeah, the new version of Batman's very dark and gritty. Like not compared to the Netflix Marvel shows. Those are true dark and gritty and have stakes that are involved.
Yeah. I just again never really fell in love with the character. So that's where my miss was.
So going into this, did you have any expectations for the first episode at all?
I was just like, how are they going to land this with a character that's already been the character? Everybody knows who he is. And then that Vincent D'Onofrio got shot in the face the last time we saw him as Kingpin. So what the hell's going on with that? Are they bringing him in? Who's going to be the villain? Because I did not go into this with a level of, like trying to understand it. I just kind of, you know, turned it on. It's like,
So
ooh,
is there
it's a
anything
thing.
as you were watching that like who the fuck are they? And I don't understand what's going on here.
When they opened early and they showed Dex or Poindexter or whatever his name is, Bullseye is what I was like, oh, that's Bullseye. And they never fucking call him Bullseye in the thing, in the show at all. And I'm just like, that's I know that one. He was Colin Farrell.
Am I remembering it correctly? But the whole paperclip thing with the fly is kind of like a callback to the first Daredevil. Didn't he do something similar to that with like a guy at the bar where he like opens up a paperclip and like fucking throws it at his throat and he just starts choking right there in the bar?
Oh, I have no idea. I haven't seen that movie in 10 years at least.
Listeners, if you've seen the original Daredevil, is that a callback? Or I guess I could just Google it, but I like interacting with you all, so chime in if you have seen that and if
Yeah.
it is accurate. I never saw the last episode of the Netflix Daredevil series, but I think based off of like stills and what I've read on the internet, like I think it starts off exactly how that season ended. And I was like, yes, okay, they got the team back together. This is fantastic. Because I knew for a while, I knew Eldon Henson was there, but I think Karen Page, Deborah, gosh, what's her last name? Wall?
Deborah
Deborah
Ann
Wall?
Wall.
Yeah, so I thought that she had not heard anything. And then when I finally saw on her Instagram that, like, oh yeah, she is part of the show, I'm like, yes, all right, cool. Well, now we're going to have something to go off of and build off of. And there's going to be some familiarity with that. So I was shocked as to what happened. Like I was watching this on an airplane and my jaw just dropped when Foggy got shot. I was like, holy shit, that's it. That's how they're starting this. is killing off one of the the beloved trinity of the original Daredevil series. And yeah, it's just talk about turn your world upside down and spin it around. Like that's exactly what they did right there.
It'd be crazy if I actually watched that. Yeah.
You didn't care about Foggy getting shot then.
I was sad they shot Fulton Reed.
It wasn't
Not,
like, oh, this is a main character that they just killed.
I had no idea.
Okay.
But
Interesting.
that's okay. It didn't make me walk away from it or like not care. Okay, I get this is an important person. And then you see the length at which Charlie Cox's character goes at Bullseye. And that was definitely like I'm like, is he throwing knives into him repeatedly? Does he have knives sticking out of him? And he does. I was like, shit, this is fucking nuts.
I love that Bullseye or Dex just uses everything with just pinpoint accuracy. He's throwing a whole bunch of shit. Like he's taking everybody out. I love that. Is it believable? No, of course it's not believable. You're not going to see that shit happen in real life. But for this in a comic book property, dude, that is someone you do not want to fuck with. Like he can use anything. He can use this box of delicious Mike and Ike's and just throw it at you and you'll be choking to death. Like
Dude,
that's really cool in my opinion. But I also could see why some people might think like, so this guy's really good at aiming. That's his superpower. Like, yeah, I could see that where some people might think that's lame, but awesome fight scene between those two.
for sure. For sure. The plot of the first episode I thought was very interesting. Superhero quits. Supervillain runs for mayor. Pretty easy.
Did you buy that with not knowing or watching the original series? Like, obviously, there's a history between him and Fisk, and we know this from the comics and obviously the Daredevil movie
Yeah.
that we saw.
Yeah.
But you were okay with everything. Like you're like, okay, yeah, I'm jumping in, because this is essentially like the middle of everything. Like
This is
if you're new to the series, then it's like I could see why you might be confused as to what the fuck's happening. Because at face value, when you have a vigilante right off the bat just assassinate a bunch of people at a bar, like where the fuck is this coming from? Like who the hell is this guy? I could see why some people would get lost with that. But did you feel that at all?
no, I knew we were coming in flow, right? Because we knew who the character was. Like there was no need for a backstory. And I appreciated that. This was kind of like your Frank Miller Dark Knight Rises, not to be confused with the Bane movie, but the actual comic where Batman comes back. So I enjoyed that. See the motivation behind Daredevil in it, and that worked for me. I watched both episodes, so they're kind of stuck together in my head a little bit, but I like where it's going. I still don't understand how D'Onofrio got shot in the face and there's no scar or eye patch or anything. Um,
I
we
think
figure
they retcon that in Echo.
no, it might be in the next episode. They call out that he got shot in the face.
Oh yeah. But that's like they explain that in Echo what happened.
Either
So
way, I definitely think that it's gonna work. Like I'm excited to watch a few more episodes of it, but the table setting for this was great because it was, not the origin story. It was the setting the stage for what we have to assume will come in the next 17 episodes.
so Charlie Cox and 17 episodes, like that's crazy. Like it's going on for that long. And I believe they've already greenlit another season, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
But
no. First season is 9, and then they've got season 2 set at 8. So that's where
yeah, because
17.
originally they were going to have it all as one season. Because I remember them saying like this is going to be like a really long season. But yeah, but talking about, setting the table, like obviously we saw Charlie Cox in No Way Home. If you'd never seen the Netflix series before, he's introduced as Matt Murdock in Spider-Man No Way Home. What did you think about Charlie Cox? And do you buy him as Matt Murdock or a superhero, if you will?
I don't like the glasses, but I really like the beard. If for some reason gets to me, because you think of superheroes. I don't know why superheroes with masks is clean shaven. As a bearded man, I'm not against beards. I just like Daredevil. I don't remember Daredevil being represented in comics with stubble.
I guess it depends on how rough a day they're all having, right? They always have the 5 o'clock shadow when they've had a rough day. Unless you're Wolverine, you're usually pretty clean shaven across the board.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just like scrolling through Google right now at Daredevil comic pages, and I can't find one with a beard. Just in general, that kind of was weird for me, but I don't know if that happened in the Netflix show or not.
He always had like some stubble
Okay.
throughout everything. But Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin, Matt Murdock calls him out and says, like, "Your step is lighter. You lost some weight, gained muscle." Because in Hawkeye, he was fucking huge. He was like the size of a bus. And he definitely looks a lot slimmer in this one. So I'm glad that they said, even though it's just like, a little throwaway line, I'm glad that they said
Yeah.
something about that because he looked so fucking physically imposing in Hawkeye. Very comic accurate, but also at the same time, not very sustainable for the practical use if he's going to continue on in multiple shows or movies. That's like the type of writing that I appreciate because me as a viewer, the first scene with Kingpin, I was like, he looks bigger than some of those people, but he doesn't look as menacing as he did in Hawkeye. They did a very good job of making him and outfitting him to showcase like almost that comic book accurate look for Wilson Fisk.
Yeah, I did love the throw when he was going through his suits to almost grab the white jacket. I was like, okay, they know.
I like that too because it's almost like a nod of like, oh, he's obviously gonna grab that, right? Like, nope, he grabs his politics suit and he's like, he's made his decision. I was curious as to what your thoughts were with the subtext and kind of like the whole thing of New York being a shit show, and then all of a sudden Wilson Fisk, who's a criminal, uh, gets elected. So were you thinking like "Huh, art mimicking reality? Like
I just try and not. But it was funny to me that it is like art imitating life in a way. I think that everybody's just got a lot of like heightened emotions around that now. So
you
so
think?
drawing, yeah, you think, but drawing that parallel is, I think that that gives too much credit to the actual person, and not enough credit to the character.
I liked how they were kind of almost mimicking as to what happened in California with some of their previous elections, and they just kind of have once again that it's the little things in the writing that makes me appreciate it to where
Yeah.
the other candidates is like, and one of them's a stand-up comedian. Like that's fucking hilarious. They're just making a big mockery as to like what the voting scene looks like for candidates nowadays.
Yeah.
But hey, that's very realistic because I think a lot of people are fed up with how politics is going and they want a stark change. And I think it obviously has happened in real life, but it's kind of refreshing to also see that like, okay, yes, we can put this in the media as well to where it is kind of silly. We're making a make-believe show, but at the same time, we can't write what's happening in reality. Like that's how ridiculous reality is now, is stuff that we can't even imagine is happening.
Yeah.
But I don't know. So any other big highlights of the first episode that you really liked? I love the action. I love the emotion from Matt as he's basically like sobbing when Foggy is I don't know if at the point if Foggy had already died. I think he already did. And Dex is just fucking laughing in his face. Like he's in pain and he's getting his ass kicked, but he's just laughing at him. I love that. That's just a great shot and great acting on both of their parts.
Yeah,
But what about
I
you?
think I really thought that scene was really poignant. Um, seeing the pain and in the guy that's like, got that Batman-esque don't kill anybody kind of thing, and then he just chucks him off the roof.
I thought that was crazy. Holy shit, he just killed Bullseye, but nope,
He
still
survived.
alive. Yeah.
He survived. Is good. The cinematography was really distracting me in this. Specifically, it didn't feel as shiny as most Marvel stuff does. Like not shiny as in, perfect, but like it seemed like it was like TV. It felt very TV to me.
Well, I had no issues with any of that. If anything, I thought they did some really great creative choices on some of the shots. Some of my favorite things about the episode, the first episode, was illustrating and showcasing as to how Daredevil hears, because they were, it's very subtle, but when he starts going into his super hearing, the frame gets a little bit wider and then
Uh-huh.
it zeroes in, like just like when Foggy took the phone call. He's like trying to listen into everything. You can hear a little bit of Foggy, and then it zooms in on Foggy and it becomes crystal clear. So like I don't, yeah, interesting that you say that. I think once again I was kind of picking up on the smaller things
Hmm.
that I liked and just I really appreciated, but at the same time it is a TV show. It's also more gritty, so I think I had no issues with the cinematography on it at all.
Yeah. And that's the only thing that really marthed me about it was the fact that it was just it's a TV show. It's a TV show. Even though other Marvel shows to me just seemed crisper for some reason. That's neither here nor there. I think that for a first episode, it was the most action I've seen in a TV show, full episode length ever, really. Like it was, and given it was the same fight kind of repeated throughout a little bit, but it was definitely, going up the staircase, fighting up a staircase was for real. It was
Yeah.
I dare say it may have been better than the Bucky and Cap fight down a staircase in Winter
Ooh.
Soldier.
There were some really cool things that they
There
did that
were,
I
but
thought
this was
was
just brutal.
it was great. It was great. It's always just tough to call out a Captain America scene. It was like you
We know
naturally want
your
to go
bias, my
for,
friend.
yeah. We wanna say that Cap can do it all day and we'll watch it all day. But yeah, that's something too that they did very well in the Netflix series is they had some hallway scenes, but the staircase scene was pretty fucking sweet. Going up a staircase and fighting, just throwing shit at each other and still just being so primal and yet very technically crisp in their martial arts and everything was pretty awesome. But then
Except
it just
getting
gets,
stuck with a shitload of knives.
yeah, yeah. But I like the fact that Dex also had, it didn't even look like knives. It just looked like pieces of metal in his belt that he just kept on throwing at people too. So it was like he'll take anything that's sharp and that's his weapon. And what a great weapon to have. Like a great weapon and great skill. Something sharp with pinpoint accuracy, you can take anybody out. But yeah, it's nothing really marthed me in the episode. The only thing that was really even remotely close, and it really wasn't all that close, is that it was more of just that first episode was a long setup. Like you need to do the time jump, you need to do everything. And I was having a good time, but I know that this is one of the reasons why I wasn't as much of a religious watcher of the Daredevil series specifically, because I don't like him as a character all that much, but I love Charlie Cox's interpretation of him and the way that they wrote that character. But it's because I've been so starved for like really good Marvel stuff, I was like, let's pick up the pace. Come on, Matt, where the fuck is the Daredevil suit? And then at the end of that episode, it kind of pays off to where the way that he just kind of accepts the fact and is also embracing that devil inside of him to where it's like, well, Fisk is in charge. I'm gonna have to take him out because I know he's gonna do something shitty. And so I was like, ooh, at the end of that first episode, I can't wait to watch the next one and the other episodes that are coming up.
It was dope. I watched the second one and it doesn't disappoint. It moves some pretty good story points forward, and as a character I never heard of, but we'll talk about that another time, I'm sure. You know, I'd like to kind of maybe revisit this after it's run its course. We do review the first episodes of something, but this runs until April 15th, and I really am hopeful that it does move some other Marvel piece forward, because we've seen so many TV shows that like Marvel shows that don't move anything forward. She-Hulk, Ms. Marvel.
Well, Miss Marvel did move it forward for the Marvels.
Yeah, but
Whether you
could
whether
you
you
have
liked
just
it is a different story.
could you have just introduced her in the movie as opposed to her own TV show?
I think if you did, if for anyone who watched that movie, The Marvels, without watching Miss Marvel, I think you lose an appreciation for Kamala because she's so fun and she's so geeked up on superheroes. I think it's very important, and especially her family dynamic, it's a very important to see that stuff. Now, with Daredevil, if the rumors are true, I believe Tom Holland will be connected into this part of the MCU. So it'll be like a Daredevil Spider-Man kind of combo team up issue for their next movie. But
Oh, for the
that's
movie. Okay.
yeah, yeah. So for the next Spider-Man, he's going to be more of a because no one knows who Peter Parker is, so now he's going to be a little bit more grounded. I know that they're probably going to obviously bring him back in for Avengers and everything, but at the same time, to loop in Spider-Man with Daredevil, they needed to do something different for his arc because Spider-Man has already done everything. The MCU Spider-Man has already done everything that he possibly could. He started off as fighting as a rookie against the good guys,
Yeah.
fought some fucking aliens, fought a bunch of people on his own
Yeah.
without the help of his super friends.
Mysterio and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like where do you go from that? You know, you can't, oh, he's gonna fight more aliens. Like, what? No, you
Hey,
can't do
look,
that.
they haven't done the lizard again yet.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe that'll be in there. But by
Bring
bringing
back
him
the
in with
Vulture.
Daredevil,
Where's all the classic Spidey like villains for him?
they use him and they fuck him up. That's what they do. Like, or they die. You
Oh
know,
wait, no, we
that's
did have the lizard. We had the lizard.
we had the lizard. Yeah, we had the
We didn't
lizard.
have the vulture.
We had the vulture.
Not in Tom Holland.
Michael Keaton,
That wasn't Michael Keaton.
the vulture. What
Yeah,
did you
but
think he was?
wasn't that an Amazing Spider-Man movie?
No, he was Liz's dad. He was the one who was cleaning up the city of New York after the battle.
No, I know that. Oh, it was Homecoming. It was Homecoming. My bad.
Yeah.
My
But
bad.
anyways, so that's where I think if we are to believe the rumors, I think that's where Spider-Man is going to land. So I think it's a little too early to ask if we can do this all day, but I think you gave uh, a good inkling as to like, yep, we're going to be interested. And if you say that you want to do an episode of the entire season, I'm sure that the listeners and other Daredevil fans would want to hear that too. So I guess that's what we're signing up for. And what better day to end a series than on tax day because someone's gonna have to pay, and it
Oh,
might as well be the Kingpin because Daredevil's gonna take him out or something. Something's gonna happen. Maybe there's gonna be a cliffhanger. Who knows? Maybe some enemies become friends, friends become enemies. Who knows?
never know, never know, don't know. Oh, the puns are strong with this one.
Oh
Talk about a
yeah.
great way to end. For the first time in podcast history, we are holding our vote, and we promise to come back in April with a synopsis.
Until next time, everyone. I'm Dan, the part-time adventurer. That's Mark, the resident Jedi.
Don't forget to hit us up at I can do this all day podcast on all the socials. Could be right, could be wrong. You don't know, but find us, like us, follow us. Don't forget to like and download this. Leave a review. Talk about how great we are at everything. Because let's be honest, we are. We are the bullseye of podcasts here.
We will see you next time, everyone.
Happy landings.